Yo, what's up, gang? I'm Lionel, back again with another video, man. I shot a dope podcast episode today with Charlie at 757 Collab. I still haven't came up with the name of this series, but the whole purpose is for me to talk to people who are working in tech, get their perspective. We talked about how he got his position, about how I got my position, told our whole stories about our plans in the future and what we feel about the overall market and how AI relates to everything, especially with Mark Zuckerberg coming in and saying that coding is dead. I'm super excited about this series, and I plan on shooting multiple episodes per week. So go ahead and like and follow. It's going to be a lot more of this, where we're coming from, where I'm going to talk to people who are working in tech now and get their perspective. Going to get more camera equipment, going to edit even more. You know what I'm saying? Thank y'all for being here, and check it out. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Let me do hair and makeup real quick.
Hair check.
I'm gonna throw my hoodie on.
Hoodie on, let's go.
Okay.
Such juxtaposition. I'm in like a button-up t-shirt, bro.
All right. Wait, get this up. What's up, guys? I'm Lionel the Builder, back again with another video, and I'm excited to announce the first episode of this podcast we're doing, where we meet interesting, awesome people who are doing dope stuff in tech. We hear a bit about their story and their motivations, and got a very exciting guest here.
Hey,
Charlie, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's great to meet you over there at the Digital Builders. My name's Charlie. I'm working with 757 Collab. So we're an entrepreneurial support organization in downtown Norfolk. So we're working to help entrepreneurs build their ideas, scale their businesses, and hopefully acquire venture capital. That's what I do for my job. In my free time, I'm also the chair of the Gen Z Commission. So we're focused on improving Hampton roads through Gen Z empowerment and leadership. And then I'm also the co-founder of Efficiency AI, so we help provide AI-based services to businesses, mostly in the government and entrepreneurial support organizations. So, and yeah, we're building our first product. So that's kind of a bit about me, and I'm on LinkedIn talking about AI and teaching people kind of like general AI stuff.
Man, I almost want to ask you, how do you sleep? Finding time for that, because that's a lot, you know?
A lot, yeah.
And I know how it is wearing multiple hats to myself.
Yeah.
But this is a tech-based channel, so let's talk first about AI. How'd you get go down the AI path?
Yeah, great question. Honestly, I mean, I've always had a science and technology background, so I went to the school in New York called the Bronx High School of Science. And it's kind of like seen as a magnet school, very, like a school you test to get into, because it would be very, top of the line. And I was on the robotics team there, so I was helping with the construction department's strategy for developing robots. And actually, funnily enough, I was so close to the software, but I never actually touched the software. I would come to find that that's actually the part that I really love. But graduated from that, went to McGill, which is kind of more of a liberal arts college, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had sort of a general idea that I wanted to study psychology, because I loved understanding people and the influence and motivation behind that. And I at this point kind of knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur generally. And so I went into that, and then in my final year there, go back for 1 second, I'd taken some CS classes like Java, Python in my freshman year there.
Okay.
Again, I really loved it because I'd always loved video games. So, it was like kind of like I'll code this like RPG, kind of thing. And then I got into object relation programming. I was like, oh, this is really cool. But kind of didn't really do much more with it after that. Went more down economics and business. Started the behavioral economics club at McGill, then did fashion for a while. So I really tried everything and didn't really find that those things stuck. But then in my final semester at McGill, I took a graduate level course in applied machine learning and artificial intelligence through the School of Psychology, which was essentially all about how to read people's minds using AI. And I fell in love with it at that point. I was like, oh my God, this is like, the world is rapidly centering around this, and this is such a great opportunity, so I went all in on that. And kind of towards the middle, maybe the beginning of that, towards the middle, maybe even was the semester before ChatGPT 3.5 launched.
Right.
And again, I was kind of always at the cutting edge of tech with like my friend groups and stuff like that. And I essentially was like, guys, like, have you tried this? And wrote all my papers that semester using ChatGPT. Did it in an hour, got A's in every single class, and I was like, okay, so this is the future. Like, what is education anymore if this is what can be done? And I've been all in on that since then, honestly.
Man,
So that's been 2 years.
That's up. So I already know how you feel about AI, but I'm gonna just go ahead and say, do you feel like AI is gonna change the world for the better or for the worse? Because some people, like Mark Zuckerberg just released an interview with Joe Rogan. I haven't watched the full thing yet, but I've seen a few of the clips, and they're saying things like coding is dead, because of AI developers and stuff like that. How do you feel about AI as it relates to the tech world and developers and stuff like that?
It's a hard question because the truth is that it doesn't really matter in a lot of ways what I think. The reality is that coding will be done by AI in the future.
Mm-hmm.
That's inevitable. People are putting billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars behind that idea.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to assume that's going to be solved. And I think that's scary to a lot of people, but I think the world is going to change very drastically around sort of similar concepts to that. Like what will marketing be like when trillions of dollars are put behind solving that through AI, right? So to answer your question, coding is in the long term absolutely dead. Like there's no question about that. In the short term, the question becomes how do you utilize that to your advantage?
True. I've saw people say things like AI is not going to take your job, but somebody using AI will take your job.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, AI will take some people's jobs, 100%. And I mean, like, I think my position on this oftentimes on my LinkedIn is, AI, people using AI will take your job. But the truth is, again, like, organizations are putting serious investment dollars behind how do we automate our businesses. And that, again, is the future of the world, is how do we go from idea to reality as fast as possible utilizing artificial intelligence and agentic AI. So if you're thinking ahead, like that is the future.
Right.
And so you need to be positioning yourself with the skills to manage AI teams, to be able to think creatively and outside the box, to be able to utilize those sorts of skills in order to leverage and build businesses or invest in them.
Right. And my story is interesting as it relates to this because I was learning to code right when AI was dropping.
Absolutely.
So it was an interesting time, and it was like I almost felt guilty about it because, as often of us probably experience looking online and stuff of people who can write whatever function that you need to with their eyes closed will look at you a certain way for using AI. And I'm like, man, it was so hard to me to make it through these courses knowing that I could just open up a tab.
Why would you?
Copy and paste the thing and get the answer to move on and get my certification.
Why would you?
So I did it. I'm gonna be honest. I did it.
Yeah. Why would you?
You know what I mean?
Because that's the skill, though.
Yeah.
That's the new skill.
Right.
It's not coding. It's how do you utilize artificial intelligence in order to code.
Yeah.
You still need to know, generally speaking, how to code.
Right.
You need to be familiar with the sorts of problems that coding has, right?
Yeah.
So being well versed and being able to be in that environment is itself a skill. It's a soft skill. It's not a technical skill, but it is a skill.
Yeah.
And it's a very necessary one.
Right.
And so, like, for example, if I were to sit down and open, like, a VS Code frame, right, that I'm like coding some, I don't know, Python script of some kind, and I were to show it to my friend who's non-technical, he would go, what are you doing, like making the matrix or something, right?
Yeah.
And like that is a mindset skill that you and I have that he doesn't have, right? So he's probably never going to be the type of person that's going to be able to command the AIs to be able to make something.
True.
Because he just doesn't get it.
Yeah. And that's how I look at it, I just imagine as long as I know the basics, the foundation of what I need to know, then I can lead this, and how to debug. The errors that you get are going to lead you to the solution. But I already could see people in the comment section, we may need to get a debate going one day, right? Between one of the OGs who can tell you all of the reasons of why no, you do, you know what I mean, versus our perspective. That would be a very interesting segment to set up.
I'd love to get on that, and I'd love the AI to moderate that. I think that'd be really fun.
Dude, that would be sick. Like I could see a panel of some sort in front of like a group of people, and then we're up there in each side, and it's like a face-off, right?
Yeah, I like that.
We'll do that one day. But okay, so what are some of the things that you see yourself building with AI? I know we were talking about a sale that you made. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. So there's some stuff that I can talk about and there's some stuff that I can't talk about, but that is something I can definitely talk about. So we call it the automated content system. And the entire idea, again, I've kind of fallen in love with ideas because I think people, especially in the startup community, love to say that ideas are worthless because execution is everything. And that's so true. But the reality is that ideas are becoming the currency of the future, because if you have good ideas and you can automate the execution, then what's the point of execution anymore?
You're rolling, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So for this particular, it's like, okay, there's, a combination of technology tools like HeyGen, 11 Labs, API, end-to-end API connections and stuff like this that you can essentially utilize with fine-tuning ChatGPT models, just even using 5-shot prompting to be able to like have someone be able to say, this is what I want to sound like, and this is kind of like what I want my videos to look like, and here's a demonstration video of me talking, and go from just your idea for a video to the entire one, right now it's short form content, but that's step one, right? The entire short form content like that. And so that's kind of like what we're currently selling, is this idea of how can you go from idea to content, short form content instantaneously for people who deserve influence.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how did you make your first sale? How did you find a client for that?
Honestly, relationships are everything.
True.
In sales. Relationship is fundamentally everything. And I think I have credibility because I work at Collab, and this is seen somewhat as a pillar of community here. And so I try to find things like that where, you can kind of get behind them and give first, and then it gives back credibility.
True.
Because I'm 23 years old,
right.
Credibility is my enemy.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to trust me because I haven't done anything yet. And so if I can find ways to shortcut that, I'm always looking for that. That's why I build lots of partnerships too with people.
Man, that's great. That's a great point that I gotta stop, because this channel is all about helping people.
Yes.
And a lot of our people right now, with the job market being terrible,
yes,
they're banging their heads against the wall, applying for applications every single day and getting rejected.
Of course.
Myself, I went through that myself in the tech world.
So did I.
And I realized that no one's gonna hire you unless they know you, unless they've shaken your hand,
Absolutely.
or you've been recommended from somebody who has shaken your hand, who can vouch for you.
And even better, if that person who's recommended you, right, has a favor that they need to cash in, right?
There you go.
Business is all about favors. It's all about that kind of thing and giving first. I'll give you a great example, if you don't mind, in that stream, which is a very good friend of mine. I'm going to leave his name out of it, but he was struggling in high school. He was not on a particularly good path and ended up going to a school which was not considered. The high school I went to was essentially like a lift-off point to any Ivy League, essentially, that you wanted to go to if you did well. And he did not do that. But he ended up going to the school. He founded a very, very prestigious club at the school and built an incredible network, and then ended up working at Goldman Sachs in their private equity markets division, which is notoriously the hardest division to get into.
Wow.
Right? So that was 4 years, right? But it took him 4 years to build that. But he was able to break into something like that is seen as the golden pillar, and tech is that now,
Networks,
right?
Yeah.
And it's all about who you know.
Right.
It's all about how much they like you, how much do they owe you, right? And so if you can actually build that sort of, it's taboo to say this, but like if you can build it up in their head that, they owe you a lot,
Yeah.
they're likely to go to bat for you,
Right.
in a way that's more serious than, oh yeah, I'll recommend you, because that means nothing.
Yeah.
That's the baseline.
Right. So many towns, I've literally sat with people on live, and I've said, okay, meetup.com. Okay, JavaScript developer class.
Yes.
Like, there is a space
Yes.
that tech people sit at in your city.
Yes.
You need to go there and volunteer.
Yes.
Set up the chairs,
Absolutely.
sweep the floor, whatever you can do.
it is. That's how I started here.
Right.
I have a degree from McGill, which is considered to be a very, very prestigious school. I applied to thousands of jobs. You're not alone, in your ability to not get a job. It is a systemic level problem right now.
Right.
I had to apply to thousands of jobs and got rejected from every single one of them. Okay. So you're not alone. But the truth is, the moment that I got off my ass, off the computer, and showed up here, right? I started by volunteering here. Then I got to the hackathon, right? And I went through the hackathon. My project didn't do great. I mean, I just developed something. I didn't lead the project, right? I just did something. Helped, showed value, right? Built community. Came back here, did more volunteering. Like shit that I did not have to learn in college. Like, again, I'm an AI engineer by trade, essentially, and statistical background. Like, picking up chairs and putting them in the closet felt beneath me at the time.
Right.
But I did what I had to do to get in the door. And I've never looked back since.
Yep. And from me, people ask me, how do I always, I've had so many different jobs in my short time in tech, even my entry, right? But I've entered into the startup world through 757 Collab. I had a crypto startup there. But now I've completely branched out from 757 Collab, and I have
Right.
relationships with the building assembly,
Yes.
all the way up to the owner.
Yes.
And through my relationships at 757 Collab, I got my first startup that I
Yes.
worked for. It was a company that went through there. And then even the second one was tied to 757 Collab, and so many of my freelancing gigs have
Yes.
came from people who I met at
Absolutely.
757 Collab.
Yes.
And I was first inspired to learn how to code by my code reviewer who I met at 757 Collab, because that
Great.
was my biggest expense, was
Yeah.
the code review
Mm.
from the team in India that was building the crypto project.
Ah.
It was 125 an hour.
Holy
So I was
crap.
like, okay.
That's insane.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I need to learn
That.
what he does.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when crypto went down and I had to go back to work, I went back with the new, determination to learn how to code. But then I always had that aspect in me of networking. That's a big reason why I throw events.
Yes.
Because it's always, putting myself. That's a big reason why I have a YouTube channel. You know what I mean? So I just want to. I know that not everybody can start a YouTube channel. Maybe for whatever reason they don't want to, do that. But if they could take the energy of action
Yes.
and determination and physically being somewhere where you can meet somebody that could possibly put you on.
Yes.
It's almost like an old school way of thinking, as if there is no internet. Almost is how you got to approach it in that way.
But you can do the same thing. It's just the same thing. It's relationships again, right?
True.
But you
even
can
through
build
the
those
internet.
relationships over the internet.
True.
But you have to understand the people who have power, influence, and money.
Mm-hmm.
Most of those people aren't our age. Most of those people are a lot older.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those people don't spend time chronically on the internet.
Right.
I spend a lot of time on the internet personally. I spend a lot of time at home in front of a computer working, right?
Mhm.
But the truth is the people who I want to recognize, influence, and help me
Yeah.
aren't there.
Right.
And so you have to pivot, right?
Yeah.
You have to pivot off of what you know and find some other way to meet those people.
They're going to be at the event,
Yeah.
right? And or
Yeah.
owning the building
Yes.
where now you're like, who is this awesome dude in here doing stuff?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And next thing you know, it's
Construction.
crazy how the doors open from there and one thing happens to
Absolutely.
another.
And you just need one person to recommend you.
Right.
That's all it takes.
And yeah, another crazy thing is that everyone talks about how bad the market is and no one's hiring. In my experience, and correct me if I'm wrong, like once you get in the mix, you see that there really are a lot of people hiring. They're just waiting for the right recommendation.
Yes.
Because it's so hard that people have been burnt so many times,
Yep.
especially when you're just gonna pick an application out of the sea
Yes.
of applications.
Yes.
It's like,
And think
almost
about
like
it
they
from
don't do that.
the other person's perspective, right? Which is really hard to do when you're in the moment of applying to jobs. I felt it. Like I'm gonna be like honest here, right? When I was applying to jobs, I remember I broke down with my family, right? Live with my family. And I broke down and I'd applied to probably by this point 500, 600 jobs, right? And I literally got to the point where I was crying as a man, not good, easy to admit that, but I was crying. And I told my parents, I was like, I feel completely worthless. Like, what's my value in this world, right? Determined by this external factor. And so I get it, right? Like, it feels completely hopeless. But the truth is, then I come from the other perspective of, like, I've hired for kind of, like, short-term technical roles that I've wanted for projects that I've built. And I would put it on LinkedIn, for example, 750 applications
crazy
like that.
immediately. It goes
Immediately.
crazy.
Not even a
Yeah.
dollar spent, right? And these companies are spending thousands of dollars looking for the best talent in the world.
It's true.
So they're trying to look for every reason not to bring you in. Your resume doesn't look right.
Yeah.
You didn't get a recommendation. You don't have an internship experience here. Blah, 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 right? And all of that goes away the moment you meet the person who opens the door for you.
Right. I like this guy. I could hang out with him.
Yep.
I wouldn't mind being on FaceTime with him once a week.
Yes.
At our meeting.
Exactly.
He's not a bad vibe.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He's not.
And he provides value, right?
Yeah.
And it can be 1,000 different ways that you provide value, and good managers are looking for talent more than they're looking for anything. But it's like, we have, especially Gen Z, sometimes we feel like we are owed opportunities because we are smart. But the truth is you have to prove it, and people are willing to do work for free, unfortunately. And so you have to find a way to show that you provide value.
Right.
And there's literally an infinite number of ways you can do that, but you have to find a way to show it. And you have to be willing to give before you ask and give before you take.
Yep.
And if you're struggling to find a job, also too, maybe consider finding an internship, straight up.
Yeah.
It's like you got to put your ego to the side, but do an internship route.
Yeah. Great way to open the door. So yeah, sorry to segue into that. I just know what the channel wants.
No,
You
that's
know what I mean?
great.
That's a huge part of our audience and our Discord.
I love
is
that. I love all of
Yeah.
that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Gen Z Commission because I
Sure.
love what you guys are doing. I saw it from inception to where it
Yeah.
is now. Y'all thought I was Gen Z, so I almost made it in there.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. And I'm obviously an ally. Can you talk about the plan that you guys have and the
Absolutely.
mission
Yeah.
and such?
Yeah, so I think it's hard to talk about a plan because we're still in customer discovery mode. We're still at least I can speak for myself. I'm not natively from here, right? I haven't spent my whole life here. I don't understand intimately the problems that people are facing at the grassroots and the leadership level. Um, but like in an overarching way, we believe that intergenerational leadership is the key to Hampton Roads' success in the long term. And we believe that Hampton Roads has all these incredible resources, which in many ways are incredibly unique, that haven't been properly tapped into. And we believe that, through the excitement of Gen Z and the sort of anxious energy of that, we're able to push leadership to the next level. And perhaps, go take some side doors in things and, govern. So that's kind of the broad mission and some of the things that we actively pursue. Recently, we just talked to Michael Berlucci down at the City Council of Virginia Beach, and we had a very brief, probably an hour-long conversation actually, and talking about why aren't you pushing the initiatives forward that we know are important to this region? And from the outside, and as a young person, I could say, what the hell's wrong with you? You should be doing this. We know this is the right thing to do. What's going on? But when you get to know these people, they have problems that are related to their ability to serve, to provide these sorts of things, and their livelihoods can be on the line for that. And
Can you give an example?
absolutely, yeah. Politicians that's a career, And if you have an ambition, which I think a lot of people do, to go higher, there's a game that you have to play.
True.
And
And something could make
could shake the boat.
You don't want to be that guy.
You can't be that guy.
Yeah.
But you can also. Here's another crazy thing that I realized is the entire room, political body can agree that this is the right thing to do and still vote against it.
Because
The sentiment of the room, the people who are showing up to the room, think that they're trying to. So it's like a vocal minority, right? Who are saying that this is not what should be done. So if you think of like the NIMBY sort of people, right? Not in my backyard. This is a very small demographic of people inside of Virginia Beach who have an outsized representation because they're willing to show up to every city council meeting and influence the decision that's being made. And so the council members then think, oh, this is the entire population of my community. This is what people really believe. I can't do this. This is my career.
True.
But
I can't go against the guys who show up to everything.
right, even though that's not the actual beliefs that are there.
Right.
And so it's about changing that narrative, right? But then it's the other, so they're saying, okay, we need people to show up and voice for what we know is right. But then how do I get young people to show up? Young people don't want to show up. They don't give a shit,
Right.
They say they care,
Yeah.
but they're not going to come to
They're
a city
gonna
council
actually
meeting.
go to the thing.
Yeah, and we're changing that slowly. But it's a really hard problem to solve because you have to get individuals to be motivated to do something that, on paper they care, but are they going to go out of their way when they have to take care of their jobs, their kids, all this other stuff?
Are they going to take time off work or even on a day off? Time is your biggest asset. So no.
Yeah. And so that's the problem, right? That's one example, and starting to uncover the real problems behind why isn't Hampton Roads where we want it to be. And I think everyone agrees where we want it to be.
Yeah.
You can think from a surface level that it's one thing, but then you go and you start to talk to the people and it's like, oh, I thought it was you as an individual who was the problem, but you also have problems.
Right.
So it's like, now how do I address those problems so that you can do the thing I want you to do?
Right. That's interesting. And I love the strategy there. I'm a chess player.
Yeah.
So I'm a problem solver. I'm a huge problem solver. So I love tackling the complicated problems in that. And that's definitely some higher level shit to what that I haven't thought about. Okay, you have to address the problems like attendance of people who care.
Yeah.
So then, of course, me as an event planner, I'm thinking it's an event.
Yeah.
It's gotta be an event.
It's gotta be an event.
It's gotta be fun.
Make city council meetings fun?
Yeah, right. It's gotta be fun though. You gotta throw some culture in there too.
Absolutely.
You have to throw some,
culture. Yeah. I agree with you. I'd love to hear more about that though. How do you think culture is the key there?
Yeah,
because I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the right time. Should I already in my mind it's always musical performances, live paint.
Yeah.
On top of, like, we call it in my world, we call it hiding the broccoli in the cake.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when I come from the party scene, I come from the, social supply world, right? I used to work for a celebrity in LA, and I saw his blow up from here
Yeah.
all the way over there.
Yeah.
And I had a venue in LA for a little bit in downtown where I was throwing events. So I came from that back in like 2015, you know what I mean? Before I came back here and everything else. And so once I came into this world and I started going to tech panels and stuff like that, in my mind, boring, you know what I mean?
So boring.
First of all, boring.
So boring.
Second of all, like, there's so much creativity that is not here for some reason. I don't understand why.
But it makes no sense because there's so much creativity here.
Right, and I've always had, I'm like, the test was 757 build weekend mixer, right? That was the test of the idea that you get any of these suits at a wedding reception, they're dancing like everybody else.
True.
So why don't we try and mix the worlds and try and bring some of the fun to this thing that, doesn't expect it, right? So we had artistic people, music, there was a DJ, right? But then also a panel, right? Is then a whole room. And then the number 2 was the social. They let us, after doing that, we got to do live at the living room and the DJ set at the social, which normally has none of that stuff.
Totally.
We got to have a live band. We had Gia over there DJing, and everyone loved it. Felt like we were in a whole different town.
Totally.
And, it was tons of networking going on, tons of the things that we love where you're building great relationships. And my idea is that both sides of the fence need that. The party scene does enough partying just to be partying.
Right.
And the networking business scenes does enough networking businesses events that feel too much like work. Right? You still want to have fun. Like, just you could throw your suit on and this thing, you still want to you still want to catch a vibe.
Absolutely.
You still want beautiful young people around. You still want to
speak for myself.
You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's something mutually beneficial that we bring together, and I found a pocket there, and that's what the digital builders, my company has. It's the event side, and then it's the software services side.
Right.
And we use the events that's our form of networking to get more software service clients, for our marketing stuff. And then it's also fun and something that I love doing. And I think that it allows us to expose this world to more people who wouldn't have not seen themselves in a building like this. I know from experience what it feels like to be a highly creative individual at a job that I feel like I'm too smart for.
Right.
That I feel like I'm too creative for, but then to not know the path to get into something like this. And that's why I love hackathons.
Right.
And that's why we're playing the Blackathon, because there's some kid who draws all day, but could never imagine himself making a logo for a startup.
Definitely, yeah.
But it's like, okay, bro, your idea that you have, and we want to teach people how to go from idea to forming a team, to making a proposal, to making a pitch deck, to pitching to investors, to building your prototype into an actual thing and trying to push it forward. Because there's grants, there's funding, there's investors, and the only thing that's stopping a creative person from doing that is the know-how, the network, the playbook of it all, and the world that you don't necessarily meet unless you're introduced somehow.
Right.
And events are perfect for that.
Totally
And
agree.
so I think that for, if the city council is the problem, man, and attendance is the problem and getting people to care, we could start a whole movement with making it dope at the same time. We
gotta tap into that, because that's, I'd love to talk more offline, honestly, about that. I'd love to talk about it now, but like I want to be, thinking about like what. Yeah, 100%. Let's do that.
Right.
That's great.
Okay, yeah.
I love that.
We definitely will, bro. And I'm excited. I know like all my favorite people are in the Gen Z transition. For one, like between you, Isaiah, Sanelli, just looking at that, I'm like, okay, y'all are in. It's a very important role to this thing, and y'all are the perfect team to execute it. So yeah, I'm an ally, and I'm here. We're gonna definitely do something. I'm trying to cover everything. You're gonna have to do a part 2.
Sounds
obviously, good. But tell us a bit more about what we got 5 minutes. I don't know if you want to talk about your role at 757 Collab or about more AI stuff or Gen Z. Like, you got so many things. What do you want to spend the past?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about the future of AI specifically, and talk about like how I hope people start to think about it, because I don't think people are totally thinking about it the right way, which is that, we have kind of like RPA, robotic process automation, which has been a thing for like, I don't know, 25 years. And now we kind of have like this more thought-based component of RPA. So you can combine, generative AI with robotic process automation to kind of create more fluid processes, right? Which is more real about how processes are in the real world. And there's sort of this term now that's come about kind of like called agentic AI, or agent AI, AI agents. And, I don't think people are thinking about it the right way. And I'd like for people to start thinking about it think about it like an AI agent is a digital employee, okay? And the digital employee has a series of tasks that it can execute in order to accomplish something. So you could think about like, I don't know, think about like a marketer. A marketer might do research, they might do creative design, they might do blah, 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 right? You can model kind of all of those tasks out in a robotic process automation flow. You might not even need to know how to program to do that. You can use tools like Zapier or make.com, no-code tools. And all of those things can come together into this one agent, which is just thinking about how to solve the problem that it's given.
Wow.
Or the task that it's given. And I think if you take that approach, I think you'll be very successful. And if you can start to design tools like that, that's what the market needs. And it's going to start to need a lot more of it. So I'll leave it with that, like that kind of thought on that, if you have any questions.
Well, yeah, thank you. That's huge. And if anybody wants to tap in and learn more about that, where can they reach you?
So definitely follow me on LinkedIn, Charlie O'Brien on LinkedIn. You can just reach out to me there. You can even email me at charlieobrien01@gmail.com. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and links will be in the description. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for hearing, man. That was awesome. Like, that was the fastest 30 minutes
I know, it flew, man.
I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
And looking forward to the next one.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks,
Peace.
guys. See ya. Dude, that was perfect.
That was fast.
Yeah.